Finally, Dad's gone. What a relief. He was a stubborn old man with money, but he was nothing but an annoyance.
On the day of his father's funeral, Alex spoke these words with a smirk on his face. How could you say something like that? You had debts that Dad took over.
Shut up. He wouldn't die and kept costing me money in hospital bills. Now I can use his money as I please.
How dare you? You relied on Dad all this time.
Say whatever you want. You don't have anyone on your side anymore, you good for nothing. Should just leave.
Brother-in-law, how could you? William also scolded Alex, but their sister-in-law present at the scene laughed and commanded us. Marriage doesn't make you a family. I bet even your father-in-law wouldn't want outsiders at his funeral. You should leave immediately. Her words snapped something inside me. To insult my father and deny my ties? These people are rotten to the core. Arguing with them any further would be pointless, and the last thing I wanted was to cause a fuss that would ruin my father's funeral. I suppressed the anger that threatened to explode. I understand. I barely managed to say that much before I decided to give up my final farewell to my father and leave. I vowed never to associate with these people again. My name is Lily. I work as a nurse in a children's hospital. I married William, a radiologic technologist I met at work a few years ago. It's difficult to find time for just the two of us due to on-call schedules, but we cherish the moments we do get. Being a radiologic technologist is a significant responsibility as imaging is crucial for diagnosing and treating patients' diseases. Handling dozens of imaging tasks every day and capturing even the smallest abnormalities come with considerable pressure. Despite the demanding job, I respect William for his hard work every day. He tells me he admires my dedication, always making time to communicate with our patients and their guardians despite my busy schedule. Once upon a time, I could hardly believe I would be of such help to others, nor did I dream that such happy days were in my future. My father worked for a major trading company. When I was a child, he often worked abroad, leaving my mother, Alex, and me to fend for ourselves at home. In that setup, my mother and Alex treated me like a servant. Didn't I tell you to clean this up? You're so useless.
Hey, Lily, go get me a juice now. You've got a minute.
This kind of harsh language and ordering around was all too common. My mother, adoring Alex, treated me as if I was nothing but a nuisance. Seeing my mother's attitude, Alex grew up to be the type to boss me around. As a child, I tried my best to meet their expectations, but contrary to my efforts, both my mother and Alex continued to belittle me. Even when my father returned from his overseas assignment when I was in high school, their attitudes didn't change. My father tried to defend me, but my mother and Alex blamed him. I raised these two all by myself while you were gone. You didn't lift a finger to help, and now you're going to complain?
Just because you're back now doesn't mean you get to play dad. We have our own dynamics here. We managed fine without you. Don't act all high and mighty.
My father argued with them, but no resolution came. Then the focus of their anger shifted from my father, who provided for the family, to me. Seeing this, my father couldn't confront my mother and Alex, fearing it would make things worse for me. Despite his presence, he regretted that he couldn't change my mother and Alex's attitude, and he tearfully apologized to me.
I'm sorry.
But just his being there saved me. Being treated by my mother and Alex as a useless and nuisance, I lost sight of my self-worth, feeling as if I were in a dark tunnel. But then my father said to me,
Lily, you're not useless. You're not a nuisance. You're our family, and you're a good person who belongs here.
Just these words were enough for me. Even when my mother and Alex belittled or ordered me around like before, just knowing that my father was there, my heart wouldn't darken. Then, when I was about to graduate high school, my mother told me to start working after graduation, forbidding me from going to college. All the while Alex, who barely studied, got to go to a private university and goof around. But even then, my father wouldn't stay silent when my mother tried to single-handedly crush the options for my future. My father asked me, what I wanted to do and told me that I could decide my own future. Having been at the beck and call of my mother and Alex for so long, I hadn't even thought about my future. But at this point, I seriously considered what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a job where I could be of help to people, so I decided I wanted to become a nurse. When I voiced my desire, my father secretly arranged for me to go to nursing school, paying the entrance fees and arranging a place for me to stay, all without my mother or Alex noticing. And so I was able to enroll in nursing school without a hitch. Since then, I have only returned home when my mother passed away. But even after I went to nursing school, I kept in touch with my father. When I secured my first job, passed my national exams, started dating William, and even when we decided to get married, my father was over the moon. He was as happy for me as if these were his own achievements. On the other hand, I was worried about him being all alone at home. But he insisted,
I'm fine, really.
brushing off any concerns I voiced. My father, who never showed any signs of weakness, mentioned one day on the phone that he was experiencing a bit of pain around his midsection. Even though he said it was just a bit painful, I knew he was probably downplaying it. I suggested that he should visit the hospital. Days later, he informed me that his endoscopy showed no issues. I felt relieved at the news, but my husband William was skeptical. He said that there could still be a problem that wasn't detectable with just an endoscopy and suggested a cancer screening as a precaution. I relayed this to my father and urged him to go for it. And then the results came in. My father had pancreatic cancer. While it was a shocking revelation, we were told the cancer was still at a stage where it could be surgically removed. So my father was admitted for surgery. The news had initially plunged me into darkness, but luckily the operation was a success. When William and I visited him in the hospital, although his fatigue was evident, he greeted us with a smile. Just as I started to feel a bit relieved at seeing my father looking better than expected, the door to his room swung open abruptly. There stood Alex and a woman. With a fleeting glance, Alex acknowledged our presence but barged into the room without a care.
Get out,
he said, tilting his chin towards the door as if we were in his way. The woman next to him was also gesturing for us to leave. I quickly realized that she must be Grace, the woman Alex had married. Having heard about Alex's marriage from my father, I intuitively felt that this must be his wife Grace. Can't you wait a little? We just got here, I protested. But Alex just smirked disdainfully at me.
Like talking to Dad is going to improve his condition.
I know, but I've barely had a chance to speak with him.
Brother-in-law, give us some more time, please.
My husband also tries to reason with Alex, but Alex bluntly barks back at us.
You're the guy who married Lily, huh? I don't care if you're a radiology tech or whatever. At the end of the day, without doctors, nurses, and techs can't do a thing, so don't get all cocky.
He smirks smugly, an ugly twist in his lips. And before we even leave our seats, Alex turns to our father and starts spouting out the unbelievable.
Dad, I've gotten myself into debt again. Need your help once more.
What? Shocked at Alex's words, I can't help but let out a gasp. No words of concern for our father's condition, Alex starts talking about money out of the blue, and once more implies that he's made our father shoulder his debts before. Alex, you have to deal with the debts you made yourself. Do you even understand what kind of situation Dad is in right now?
Shut up, I'm making Dad atone for his past mistakes.
Atone?
He is making up for neglecting us when we were kids, saying he will forgive us for ignoring our precious childhood because of money. Isn't he kind?
What? I never imagined Alex could be such a despicable person. His words leave me flabbergasted, and I can't find my words. I have to do something. I'm the only one who can stop Alex here. I think this and start to find words to retort, but my sister-in-law standing next to Alex looks at me with a puzzled face.
Don't get all high and mighty just because you're married. You're in the way, so go home.
I snap at my sister-in-law's words, and I don't have the luxuries to stay calm. That's enough. Forgetting that I'm in a hospital room, I can't help but raise my voice.
Lily, stop.
William quickly stops me, and I'm taken aback. It was then.
Lily, you should go home for today.
Our father quietly said so and gave us a listless smile.
Thank you for today. You can come again some other day.
Hearing our father's words, Alex and his wife looked triumphant. I couldn't shake off the unease of leaving father and Alex and his wife alone. However, feeling guilty about shouting in the hospital room, I felt I couldn't argue here any longer and left the hospital room. A few days passed with worry about father and Alex's relationship, and one day, my father developed complications. The shock of developing complications was immeasurable for father. Moreover, dad's mental and physical strength had dwindled as he stopped eating properly. As a result, despite the efforts of the attending physician, father passed away a few weeks later. A grief I had never felt in my life attacked me, but I didn't have time to indulge in my grief. Despite the fact that father had died, Alex and his wife did nothing. Therefore, all arrangements related to the funeral were undertaken by William and me. On the day of the funeral, while greeting the attendees and waiting for the funeral to begin, Alex, oblivious that this is a funeral, grinned broadly.
I feel so relieved now that Dad is finally gone. He was stubborn and only cared about money, and he was a nuisance.
What? Dad took on your debt and you still speak ill of him?
Shut up. His medical bills were just too much, and now I can finally use his money as I please.
How could you, after all you've taken from Dad?
Say whatever you want. No one's on your side anymore, so get lost. My own brother-in-law, I can't believe this.
Even as William defended me, our sister-in-law smirked and gestured us away.
Married into the family doesn't mean you're actually part of it. I bet even your father-in-law wouldn't want outsiders sticking around. Go home.
Hearing her words, something inside me snapped. To disrespect my father and to dismiss my connection to this family? These people were beyond redemption. There was no point in arguing with them. And the last thing I wanted was to disrupt Dad's funeral with a scene. I swallowed down my boiling anger. Fine. I forced the words out and decided to leave, giving up my final farewell with Dad. I vowed never to deal with these people again. But the next day, my phone was flooded with calls from Alex and his wife. I had a hunch about what they wanted, but I ignored them all. Alex didn't care about me enough to know where I lived. If I kept ignoring him, he would give up eventually. Or so I thought, but Alex exceeded my expectations, hiring a detective to find me and showing up at my apartment.
Hey, why aren't you answering your phone? We've been trying to reach you.
Get out here. Do you know how much trouble we have had trying to find you?
The moment they saw me, they started yelling, letting out their pent-up frustration. Before I could respond, they rattled off their grievances.
Is that lawyer telling the truth that all of Dad's inheritance goes to you?
That can't be right, can it? We're siblings, so the inheritance should be divided equally, right? If anything, you're the younger one, so you should get less.
When I remained silent, Alex roared,
Say something.
It was funny how they were the ones who didn't give me a chance to speak. What the lawyer said is true. I was surprised when I found out too.
No way. So you're saying you get all of Dad's $10 million? I won't accept that.
Whether you accept it or not doesn't matter, Alex. This has already been decided.
You think you can talk back to me? You've always been useless and you couldn't even help Dad when he needed it. You should just do as I say for the rest of your life.
Alex was hell-bent on acquiring the inheritance by any means necessary, refusing to face the inconvenient reality, but his attempts were futile. After all, our father had expressly excluded Alex from the list of heirs. Whether Alex accepts it or not, it doesn't matter. This is already settled.
No way.
Lies? Alex, you made Dad pay off your gambling debts, calling it atonement. Plus, you used Dad's stockholder benefits without permission and sold its belongings. Also, Dad had taken measures to ensure that Alex could not inherit his property, citing insults from Alex and my sister-in-law among other reasons. What you guys did is enough to lose inheritance rights. Get it and leave. Don't ever show up in front of me again. Alex and his wife, who had been furiously screaming, seemed to finally grasp the reality as they listened to me. Proof of this was their faces turning ashen. Leaving them to their distress, I started to return to my room, but my sister-in-law pleaded with a voice similar to a scream,
Wait, please share the inheritance with us.
Even now, my sister-in-law begged for the inheritance. When I shot her a cold look, she started babbling even without being asked.
We thought we would get Dad's inheritance, so we bought a condominium in the Highlands.
Huh?
We borrowed money from a pretty risky source, thinking we could pay it back quickly. If we don't return it soon, the interest won't be a joke. Please share the inheritance with us.
Apparently, not only did Alex and his wife buy a condominium in the Highlands, but after Dad passed away, they lived a life of luxury, gambling more than usual and splurging on brand goods. "That's not my problem," I said. Upon hearing this, Alex shouted in panic.
You have always done what I said, right? You should just obey me.
When was that? Through my job, I've met a husband with whom I can respect each other and contribute to society. I'm different from the person I was then. Don't you think you can have it your way with me forever?" As I raised my voice to match Alex, he fell to his knees on the spot and still clung to me in tears.
Alex is asking for help as a family, and you should help him.
My sister-in-law also raised her voice and appealed to me, but I spat out sharply. "Weren't you the one who called me a stranger after insulting Dad and denying my relationship with him? I have no obligation to help you guys anymore."
What? How dare you?
"If you keep loitering, I'll call the police. Are you okay with that?" At the mention of the word police, Alex and his wife disappeared from our sight as if running away. Afterwards, at the memorial service, I met relatives and heard a stream of complaints about Alex. Alex and his wife had been appalling at Dad's funeral with sloppy speeches as funeral organizers and lack of proper manners, leaving all the relatives dumbfounded. Apparently, after a lawyer told Alex he had no inheritance rights, he went around asking all the relatives to tell him where I was, but no one told him, so he had to hire a detective. But when my plans fell through, even after hiring a private investigator, Alex was reduced to begging our relatives for money. His head bowed in desperation, I heard. Still, our relatives, disgusted with Alex and his wife, refused to lend them any money. It seems they ended up fleeing somewhere without anything but the clothes on their backs to escape from their debtors. And now, months later, apparently Alex and his wife are still stuck in a loop, constantly running whenever their debtors catch up with them. I imagine his wife must be sick of such a life, but she can't make a living on her own. No doubt, she is unable to leave Alex and they must be quarreling daily. On the other hand, William and I, unable to attend my father's funeral, visit his grave once a month. Thanks to my father's support, I have been able to become a nurse, and I found William the love of my life through this career. I plan to appreciate him every day and continue to do my very best, whatever that may be.